From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
I'm Holly Brantley with an update on Bozeman's only unsolved homicide case. You'll hear from detectives and why they're calling on the community to help.
And the Montana Special Olympics State Games are coming up soon. This morning, we begin a series of stories featuring some of those athletes. Love that.
Lovely. It's a great Monday morning. It's a little cloudy, but that's all right. Little rain, but we need it here, huh, Matt?
We definitely do. We're trying to avoid those drought conditions, and this is really where we start picking up a lot of our moisture between April, May, and early June. So crossing our fingers, we get some more of this.
Sure.
It doesn't look like it's happening for the bulk of this week, though. Damp roadways this morning. We do have some visibility issues with some fog in some of those low-lying areas. Most of that moisture should taper off as we head through the morning. You see our skies begin to clear by the noon hour west of the Divide, then it moves into the Bozeman area. We're going to be in and out of cloud cover. Temperatures topping out to right around that 50-degree mark for the afternoon today. It should be a cool but pleasant day. We do have some fog in parts of the area to start the morning. I think the afternoon with highs in the 50s should be pretty pleasant. 70s in the forecast. We're going to talk more about that, of course, in just a little bit.
All right, thank you, Matt. 6:29, we're going to start with some Treasure State headlines. A standoff in Billings on Friday lasted hours, but was over in seconds. And now it has the police investigating 2 deaths.
A weekend press conference by the Billings Police Department has left more questions than answers, though. MTN's Mitch Loggy tells us what we know and what we don't.
At a Sunday press conference, Billings Police Chief Rich St. John outlined new details about a police chase turned standoff that left the male suspect dead inside the attic of an unoccupied Billings home on the 4000 block of Ridgewood Lane South. We still don't know the identities of the people involved, including the man shot by police, another man police found dead in the back of a van, and a woman who was also arrested that day. St. John said the incident started around 12:30 p.m. Friday, when a man and a woman were trying to put a tarp over the top of a van parked in the lot of a Laurel business called Woods Power Grip. Laurel police received a call for the suspicious activity and made contact with the man, who was uncooperative.
He eventually got back into the van and fled the scene. Officers, to my knowledge, were not able to identify the occupants prior to that. The pursuit went through Laurel, into the county, and eventually into West Billings.
The man and woman eventually crashed the van on a private residence in Billings at the dead end of 43rd Street West. St. John said the man and woman fled on foot. Authorities caught up with the woman and used a stun gun to bring her into custody without injury.
MHP and Laurel officers caught the female quickly. She was tased and subsequently taken into custody.
Police later found the body of a man dead inside the van. The circumstances of this man's death are still unknown. The standoff suspect fled the scene of the crash and eventually holed up inside an occupied home armed with a semi-automatic handgun. St. John said the man fired at the SWAT team, and a total of 5 officers shot back. St. John said detectives believe with a high confidence that the standoff suspect is well known to law enforcement.
The decedent was well known to state and local enforcement. Most recently, a person of interest in our shooting in the 4100 block of King Avenue East. We'll provide any information we have when and if that's corroborated and following the autopsy, and that will be as soon as tomorrow.
In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
Now, officers add they didn't get a chance to do a sweep of the neighborhood in their investigation. They are also asking any residents that are in the area with surveillance video of the standoff. Those residents asked to call the Billings Police Department.
Closer to home now, it's Bozeman's only unsolved homicide, the killing of Randy Church.
Investigators are now calling on the public to help them finally bring closure to the family and the community. I spoke with them about the investigation. One, they tell me, is still going strong even after 36 long years.
On a cold, snowy February day in 1985, Randy Church, an MSU student, went to work at the Pizza Hut on Bozeman's Main Street just as he'd done dozens of times before. It would be his last. Sometime when he was working in the restaurant alone as the shift supervisor, Randy was shot.
We're hopeful that someone somewhere knows something.
Detective Benjamin King with the Bozeman Police Department believes information from the public could be what it takes to find Randy's killer. He's calling for new information as investigators embark on a mission to find new clues. They are piecing together the 36-year-old details of the case and working with a new lab to give the trail of evidence stretching 3 decades a modern look.
Several articles of evidence were recovered from the scene. Of course, DNA was not a thing in 1985, so that wasn't what the investigators were looking for, specifically DNA evidence. Fortunately, we can take the evidence that we do have from that case that was collected and apply new DNA technology.
They say it's about more than tangible pieces of evidence. Detectives want to hear from the community.
Anything that anyone has to tell us, we will listen, no matter how small. You will not be bothering us.
Detective Sergeant Joseph Swanson says they want to pair information from individuals with technology to tell the whole story of what happened on that winter morning and why.
DNA evidence can only be as good as what the piece of paper tells us.
Right.
And it's certainly, we want to find out what a motive was or what all those other specifics are behind it.
Detectives tell me it's a case that hit Bozeman hard, one many here still remember, but no one shaken harder than Randy's parents and his siblings. The family is from Havre, and now police want to bring them peace.
As an investigator, I have to remain objective. My goal is to be the objective fact finder in any case that I work. But on a personal level, it would I think be pretty magical.
In Bozeman, Holly Brantley, MTN News.
Now, Randy Church was an electrical engineering student. I'm told by investigators and the Church family he was a good student with lots of friends. You'll hear from his sister and 2 brothers tomorrow. Now, the case has never been closed. Meantime, if you have information, you can contact the Bozeman Police Department Cold Case Tip Line at 406-582-2025 or coldcasetips@bozeman.net. Tipsters can remain anonymous and may be eligible for up to a $10,000 reward for information that could lead to an arrest in this case. All of that information right now is available on our website.
More to follow tomorrow, and that with the family. Looking forward to that, Holly. Meantime, for nearly a decade, the first sign you saw of LOLO, Montana, when you were driving in from the north, was the town's welcome sign. However, that sign recently came down.
MTN's Russ Thomas talks to the man who created that sign as a project and about the effort underway to get a new sign in place.
In August of 2011, then 17-year-old Jace Holyoke was part of a team that helped erect a Welcome to LOLO sign located along Highway 93 as you headed to town from Missoula. It was Holyoke's design and part of his Eagle Scout project.
This will be easy, I'll just go get a couple logs and get a piece of wood and put it up and it'll be done in no time.
Nearly 10 years later and going on 27, Jace, who now lives in Spokane, says there was a lot more to it.
I started going to local businesses and fundraising money. And then I didn't really realize the process it would take to get the permitting to get that sign up. And that took several years.
It's the type of hands-on project that a small town like Lolo prides itself in, and one that Jace hoped would last for decades, which is why a recent drive back to Lolo had him concerned.
I was driving to Lolo to visit my in-laws' house and saw the sign was down. Just kind of was curious about what happened there. And so when I investigated a little bit more, saw that it was laying down in the ditch.
What happened next is not a surprise. Jay said he began receiving social media messages and text messages from the Lolo community offering their help in getting a new sign put up.
When I see that sign, or when I did see the sign, it meant I'm almost home, I'm ready to end the day, I'm back in Lolo, where things, a lot slower.
Resident Kirk Simmons is in the business of sign building, and he understands what Jace's Welcome to Lolo sign means to his community.
We definitely want to, look into getting it rebuilt in steel. It's going to be, a grassroots community effort for sure.
Jace believes that with the support the community is already showing, along with a little more knowledge on the impact of the elements on the sign, they'll be able to put up a sign that will last for decades.
We've learned some lessons over the last 10 years with this sign and some of the flaws that we'd like to improve and hopefully make it a bit more structurally sound.
And although now Holyoke is located about 3 hours away from his hometown, you can bet he's going to play a key role in getting this next sign in the ground. In Lolo, Russ Thomas, MTN News.
Now, Holyoke doesn't know how the original sign came down, but he says it sustained damage due to wind and harsh weather over the years.
As a lot of things have, for sure. We'll continue to follow progress in that. I think that's awesome.
Me too.
6:37, over the next couple of weeks leading up to the Montana Special Olympic State Games, we're going to feature a few of the athletes who make these games so special.
MTN's Ashley Washburn begins with a Bozeman High senior.
Seville Lowry is a senior at Bozeman High School, one of hundreds of athletes competing in this year's Special Olympics. He'll be representing the Bozeman Yetis in 2 different sports, but if it was up to him, he'd be competing in all of them. How much do you love sports?
A lot. I love Hummer, maybe 100%. 100.
Seville's love for the game is far stretched. From tearing up the basketball court to running at the track and field state championships, the senior is one of Bozeman's most involved student athletes.
Seville is definitely an athlete, starting with basketball and participating in whatever other sports he can throughout the season.
His passion for sports is what got the attention of Bozeman's varsity soccer coach.
Seville loves sports. He's always talking about it, and so one day I just asked him if he wanted to be the team manager. And he wanted to do it, and he was great.
I do hot balls and then on the jerseys, and yeah.
He's been Bozeman's team manager for 3 straight seasons, but it wasn't until this past fall that he got his first varsity start.
Seville, you've been a buddy. Thanks for working hard this season, showing up every day, and today you're going to get the start in our game.
How did you feel when Carter gave you the jersey?
Awesome.
He loves just being one of the guys with all his other teammates, and it's one of the best things that's come out of our unified sports program is him getting to be included along with all of our other athletes.
At this year's Special Olympics, Seville will be competing in both soccer and 2 track and field events, the 100-meter dash and 4x100 relay.
Over these next couple practices, we're going to take those scores and get his 2 best scores and submit those in to Special Olympics and earn his awards based on that.
And the competition doesn't stop there for Seville. He'll be representing the Bozeman Hawks next month at the State Track and Field Championships running in a unified 4x100 relay. Reporting in Bozeman, Ashley Washburn, MTN Sports.
Real athletics. I love that.
Fabulous.
More
awesome.
of those. We're going to continue to do that leading up to the state game.
Yeah.
So good stuff there. Thank you,
Looking forward
Ashley.
to all those stories,
And
highlighting those athletes.
We wish him the very best. That's
yes,
just awesome.
indeed.
Good stuff. We're going to take a quick break here on Montana This Morning. When we come back, everybody can do their part to clean up the earth. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah, we'll have more on that. But first, here's a look at what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, President Biden has already reached his goal of 200 million vaccine doses administered in 100 days. See how at-home coronavirus tests could now be the beginning of a new phase in the fight against COVID. Also, it was a historic night for women and people of color at last night's Academy Awards. Soul composer John Batiste joins us to talk about winning the Oscar for Best Original Score.
It's the same 12.
And Tarana Burke, founder of the Me Too movement, and best-selling author Brene Brown discuss breaking barriers in their new book about race and resilience. We could all use a little resilience. We'll see you at 7.